Pride and Duztyn Talking COMICS! Alright guys, so Pride here.
Bite the dust.
And, you know, on our page we get asked a lot of questions. And one of the questions we get asked way more than anything else is, I really want to get into comic books, but where do I start? I mean, if you actually think about it, Batman turns 100 years old in 2039.
He looks good for his age.
He really does. But it's like 100 years of Batman comics. Who's got time to read that? Especially the bad ones. So we're here to recommend some stuff for you. Where to start. And I think you should start this off.
I will start this off. For you guys wondering what this is, we have a habit of talking over each other.
We really do.
And the ball here is the ball of talk. So
it's really important that whoever has the ball of talk gets to talk. And we keep it that way.
Right. So I'm going to start off with some comics. We're going to do Marvel this week because we figured it'd be easier to go, by each company because that way we can talk about it and really give you an idea what to read. We're going to do Marvel, and my two suggestions today are basically from the last couple Marvel movies that came out. Because, let's face it, if you're not into comics, you probably still saw those movies and they might have made you want to read. My first book I'm going to go with is Annihilation. It was written by DNA, which... Oh yeah, you can hold it for me, cool. It was written by DNA, which is Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. And they pretty much brought back the coolness of Marvel's cosmic era. And Annihilation starts off with... it has 4 books. I'm trying to remember who it's for. I know one is Nova, one is Silver Surfer, one is the Super Skrull, and one is Drax the Destroyer, which you may remember from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians was awesome.
It was awesome. But it starts off with that and gives you a little backstory of those guys, then it goes into the actual... There's 3 books. I have 2 of them right here. And it goes into the actual Annihilation wave. And what's cool about, the reason this kind of got me into the cosmic stuff is because it gives you that backstory. I believe Peter Quill's in it, which is Star-Lord Man. And I'm pretty sure Gamora's also in it. Now, coming out of Annihilation, it went into... That's when Nova got his book. And it was more about the telling of Nova, which you've seen the Nova Corps in Guardians of the Galaxy. So you get an idea of where that comes from. And then it leads into his book, which leads to Annihilation Conquest. And that's where you really get to see the Guardians come in, because their book, which a lot of the movie was based off of, those characters get their series. Now, I know they got a new Guardians out too, and so that's very confusing with a reboot of it. But if you want to really get started, I would definitely recommend hitting up Annihilation, because it's really awesome. And DNA really know how to write the cosmic stuff. Well, that's all I got for that book. Here you go.
So it's my turn to talk. And I want to say, the Guardians run, Guardians number 17 just came out. It's really good. You should check out this to get into that. Now, to my pick, I picked Ultimate X-Men as my first talk for today. And who doesn't love the X-Men? The movies were great, most of them. The cartoons were amazing. All of the cartoons were great. The 90s cartoons, Kitty Pryde and the X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men, the motion comic books on Netflix, they're all great. But again, there's so many back years of X-Men if you watch them. There's Giant Size X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, it just goes on. So, my opinion...
Extreme X-Men...
There's so many titles. So I really like the Ultimate X-Men, because what Ultimates does is that it's written by Brian Michael Bendis. He was probably one of the top 5 writers.
Mark Millar wrote Ultimate X-Men. Check it out. Check it out. You're thinking of your next book.
I got my books backwards. You're right. Mark Millar wrote Ultimate X-Men. I'm an idiot. But it's really good. Both Bendis and Millar are probably the top 5 writers of our generation right now. So Ultimate X-Men, what it is it basically sums up all the major events in X-Men history really nicely, very quickly, and was new art. And the thing is, a lot of people don't like reading the older X-Men runs, which are really good. One of my favorite comic books of all time, Days of Future Past, a lot of people won't read that because the art's very outdated. And if you can't get past that, this will help you out a lot. So, I recommend Ultimate X-Men.
And just to kind of go on with that, Millar wrote The Ultimates, which is... I was in the comics when I was younger, and then I kind of got out of it. And reading a friend of mine, which one day maybe we'll have on this segment, he really got me into the Ultimates, and Mark Millar's Ultimates is awesome. And if you goes with the movies again, if you like the Avengers movie, they definitely take from the Ultimate line. So I definitely would recommend that. My next book, and this one's really good, is Captain America: Winter Soldier, and this was Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America. Brubaker. I'm sorry. One thing you're gonna learn: I'm horrible with names, but that's why we're here to help correct each other.
Because we are Pride and Duztyn Talking Comics.
I almost said doing comics. We're not doing them. We're just talking them. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, Ed Brubaker's Winter Soldier, which again, if you saw Captain America: Winter Soldier, it definitely. I mean, this is it. This is kind of where they got that idea from. This is where it started. Brubaker's whole Captain America line is really good. He really made, because a lot of people before were like, man, Cap's kind of lame. The stripes, the star, he looks boring. He looks old school. Well, this whole book made him. I mean, for one, it brought in and perfectly described the Bucky character. Bucky went from this little kid that was with Captain America, and you were like, man, that's not safe. Why would you have a kid in World War II? And then you learn Bucky was awesome. And then that's why the Winter Soldier is awesome. But I definitely recommend reading it, especially if you like that movie. And I mean, why would you not like that movie? It was awesome. It's definitely one of the top 5, maybe in my top 3 Marvel movies. But
#1 grossing movie of 2014.
So I would definitely recommend. I believe if you want to pick up the graphic novel, they broke it down into 2, so you can read the whole thing, get it collected. I mean, because I know getting the issues is going to be rough. So that's why we have a lot of the graphic novels here, because basically these have the whole story together, so you can just read them all together. So that's pretty much what I'm saying. Check out Captain America, and like I said, check out the whole series. It's really good.
And to end our segment, I want to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man. Again, just like Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Spider-Man, Spider-Man's been around forever. They really condense a lot of his backstory. The Venom arc's in here. It's amazing. Carnage is in here. It's amazing. The death of Gwen Stacy, they've rewritten. I was kind of upset at, but you have to understand it's a reimagining. It was really good. Everything in this is really good. And Bendis is a really great writer who really understands what it means to be Spider-Man.
Also want to say in the Ultimate line, everything's pretty modernized. So it's not as, a lot of the origin stories and things are not as ridiculous. They're very modernized. They're very more as realistic as you can get in a comic.
Right. I mean, if you remember, I don't know if anyone remembers, but the original first Spider-Man, he was working for some kind of agency or a newspaper who was covering World War II. We don't have World War II. People don't cover that anymore. So what's he doing? In the Death of Spider-Man arc in here, he's working at McDonald's. That's pretty modern. It's hard to beat that. It's really good. And why would Spider-Man work at McDonald's? Read it and find out. It's probably one of my favorite comics that I own is the entire Ultimate Spider-Man run. I loan it to all my friends and try to get them to convert to comic books if they ever get around to reading them. Getting in the north. So, I do want to quickly mention that the Ultimate line has got a bunch. There's Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four, the Ultimates, which is the Avengers. They just call them the Ultimates in this universe. Everything was fantastic except Ultimatum.
And the Ultimates, that's where you first see the Chikari that are in the Avengers movie.
Right, yes. It is where they introduce a lot of the stuff. So if you a lot of the movies are actually taking stuff from the Ultimate lines. So, again, these are the comic books we recommend from the Marvel Universe for the week. So you should tune in next time for DC.
Yes.
Good night, Internet.
Good night.